So let's go through summary points here. As we know, if a graph is increasing, the gradient or these signs are bigger than 0, and so on. Now let's have a look at example 5. It says for a particular curve, you've got f of 2 is equal to minus 1. You've got this bigger than 0, and you've got f double dash at that same point is less than 0. They want you to draw the shape of the curve at that point. Sounds a bit tricky. So the first thing that you've got to be able to spot, girls, is from here, what coordinate does that represent? When you substitute a number, what is it? That's the x, yeah? That's the x value you're substituting into a function. And the resulting value represents y. So what they're saying is at the point 2n minus 1, so I'll label it here. So at that point, 2n minus 1, so we've done the first step. Now we have to label the other two facts. At that point, girls, it says f dash 2 is bigger than 0. So if you have a look, f dash x, if it's bigger than 0, that means at that point it's increasing. So what I'm going to do is draw a positive gradient line at that point, like this. Okay, so that's my second point done. The third part is where it's actually a bit tricky and I got it slightly wrong. When it says f double dash 2 is less than 0, we're going to be using this fact as we've been doing. So as you can see, if it's less than 0, it's going to be concave down. Now, how do you draw concave down at that point? Here's the thing. This is partially correct, not fully though. Why is that partially incorrect? I can tell you right now, up until here, that's correct. But this part, this half, second half of the graph, that's wrong. Because as you can see at that point, if I keep going, it's not increasing. I need something increasing. But at this point, it's decreasing, isn't it? So the trick here is you don't do that. You actually continue like this. That's your answer. Yeah, so that's the tricky part. So for the first half, you draw concave up. Oh, sorry, not concave up. Increasing. But you don't continue with the curve going down. You go with that because it has to be constantly increasing. Does that make sense? So we're going to apply the same thing now, but we're going to go backwards. Let's have a look at example B, which you see over there with the graph. So it says describe the sign of dp over dt and double differentiation of that graph. Okay, so from that graph, as we can see, if I drew a tangent, is that increasing or decreasing? It's going down, isn't it? So that means I know the gradient has to be less than 0. Yeah? Because it's decreasing. Now, let me just quickly draw the curve. So right now, we have this. Which part of graph between these two is it? Yeah? So that means for this sign, it's bigger than 0. So that's how you interpret it when you go backwards. All right? So now they want you to actually interpret it. Question part B, how is the population of unemployed people changing over time? What does that mean? The unemployment people is decreasing. Yeah? But the last part's a bit tricky. Is the rate of change of employment increasing or decreasing? The sign we have here is increasing. So that means the rate of change is increasing, which means it's always changing. Yep, so that's how you interpret it graphically in like different contexts. They want you to analyze f double dash at minus 2. What else? F of 0 and f dash 3. So let's analyze these three one at a time and see if we can get the answer. So let's have a look at the first one, f double dash at 2. So, what's the inequality sign? As you can see at that point, we see concave up. So that's bigger than 0. So that's our first step. Second step, f of 0, that just means when you substitute 0, what's the y value? You get some negative value. So we can label that as less than 0. Does that make sense? Now, f dash 3, so that means the tangent at that point because it's just one dash. What do you see? You agree? It's a stationary point? So what can I say about that? What sign can I give it? Equal to 0. That's right. So we now got these facts. Now we've got to put it together and see which one of the answers it is. So let's start from the biggest one. The biggest is obviously this one because that's bigger than 0. This is less than 0. So let's order it. Number 1, what's my second highest? This one and this one. Does that make sense? Biggest, next biggest, lowest. Let's have a look. Carefully think about it. The inequality signs can be quite tricky to interpret backwards. If you think, let's go from A to D. Hands up if you think it's A. Hands up if you think it's B. C? D? It's A. Yeah, it's A. Yeah? So you'll see this type of question quite commonly in a lot of trials that I found. And I think this was your HSC question from last year, 2021. Yeah. So if you look at all the multiple choice skills, the things that we need to analyze is what is f of 1, what is f dash 1, and what is f double dash of 1, as you can see. And you've got 0. So let's have a look. So at 1, obviously if you substitute 1, you're going to get some positive y value, obviously, as you can see. Second point, at that point, the tangent, it's positive as well. And the last one, less than 0. Now, here's the problem with this one. We've got two situations where they're both greater than 0. We don't know which one is bigger than the other. That's the problem. Yeah? So how do I know which one has a bigger value? This is where we actually need to do some algebra work here. So here's the trick. If you don't know in this case what the bigger value is, girls, with any straight line tangent graph, the equation is, yeah, going back to year 9 maths, yeah? So let me just rewrite here. Let's replace some of the symbols here that we know. Girls, the y value at 1, if the y value as we know is f of 1, which one of these symbols would be the gradient? Come on, girls, you should know this. Which one of these symbols is gradient? F dash 1. Yep. And what is the x value at that point? 1. We don't know this. That's fine. Because now what we have is this. F dash, anything times 1 is just that itself. Yeah, so what does this tell you? Oh no, from here, can you see that this is actually the bigger value than this? Because f of 1 is f dash 1 plus another number. Yeah, so... Oh no, but here's the thing though. What does B represent? The y-intercept. Yeah. So which one of the answers is it? Ladies, is it A or B? Come on girls, finish it off for me. A. So girls, that's the technique. Alright, so good question. I couldn't get it right.